Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. The video for today, I'm not quite sure how I want to present this one, title it, whatever, but the main topic for today is what happens when the police go to the wrong address, or I guess I could also say what should you do, or what commonly happens when the police are knocking on your door in the middle of the night at say 1:32 in the morning and you're not expecting them. The reason that I created this topic today, well, it's twofold, but you'll see here in a moment. I was editing a video for the body camera channel the other day, and this idea kind of struck me in my tiny little pea brain. And here is the reason. So this was this is the body camera footage from the shooting that happened in, I can't remember the name of the town, in New Mexico, where officers were responding to a call about domestic violence. They went to the wrong house. They're knocking on the door. They said that it was the police. Person comes to the door with a gun, points it at the police officers. They were forced to shoot him. His wife then picked up his gun, and the police shot at her too. They did not hit the woman, but they did strike the man. The comment section of that video, the way I presented it was I was saying, look, it's never okay to come to your door with a gun and just open it and point it at somebody. You look through the door, you see who's at the door, you try to make some way to verify who's at the door. And when I told that story, I said, not only because are the police shot at sometimes, but there was two recent cases in the news at the time. And I believe one was a girl, like a teenage girl that was shot in a vehicle, and then another one was a young male black who was at somebody's door. They were both shot by homeowners that didn't take the slightest bit of time to verify what was going on before they opened fire. So I said, it's never okay just to open the door and start shooting at people. It's never okay to start shooting through the door. We need to have calmer heads in these situations. I realize there's a lot of fear and stuff out there. So anyway, not to rehash everything I said in that video, the comments, as they normally are in my videos, were the overwhelming majority of people who watch my channel support me. They like what I say. They're receptive to the message that I have to say. But there's always that very small, very loud vocal minority that has something to say. And this video is for them, as well as just a little bit more information for the rest of you to kind of have in the back of your tiny little brain, so that when people say these things, you have maybe more information that you can share with them. And what those people were saying was, this shooting was 100% the police officer's fault because they went to the wrong address. In this day and age of GPS, yada, yada, yada technology, you should never be at the wrong house. And I had people saying, I have the right to defend my house, and if the cops don't have a purpose to be there, then I'm allowed to shoot them. I mean, there was a lot of weird stuff in the comment section like that. And I want to go over we're going to watch like 30 seconds of this video, and then have a couple other videos that I found when I was editing that kind of fly in the face of the objections of that very small vocal minority. And I might get a little bit of criticism for responding to the very small number of people who are being very loud. But for some reason in our society today, it's the minority of people who don't think like everybody else, but are very, very loud. They're the ones that are controlling the message in our society, and they're the ones that are driving like the legislator and quote unquote reforms and all that other stuff. So I think it's important to put information out there to kind of combat that message. So as I said, we have all seen this video. I got to get my headphones out. I'm going to do a quick edit right here. Alrighty, now we are back. Once again, I started recording a video before I was ready, but that's nothing new. But we've all seen this video. This is when the officers go up to the wrong house, start knocking on the door.
Police department.
I think that's all I really need to show of this part of the video. They sat here and knocked on the door for about 2 minutes. They announced who they were. Some of the comments that people were saying is, look, if you come to my house in the middle of the night and start banging on the door and yelling police and all this, you're going to scare the hell out of me. Of course I'm going to come to the door with a gun. These officers weren't banging on the door, screaming police. They were knocking very politely, saying, hey, it's the police department. Can you please come to the door? That was the setup to that situation. And For some reason, the guy in that house came to the door with a gun, pointed it at the officers, and a firefight ensued. It's a very tragic event, very unfortunate thing that happened. It's unfortunate all around. We've kind of covered that. Now, the fact that the officers were at the wrong house, a lot of people made a big deal out of that, saying that the officers completely screwed up, whatever. I have video from one that I was editing where officers showed up unexpectedly at someone's house in the middle of the night, and then also they showed up at the wrong door, and I want to see how the citizens responded to that situation. Then you're going to ask, why in the world, what justifications do police officers have for showing at my house unannounced in the middle of the night? What if your car gets broken into in the middle of the night? This is a situation where officers responded to a call about somebody breaking into cars. They arrived on scene. They actually caught the man who was breaking into these cars. If I did my editing and my scheduling correctly, this video is on the body camera channel just yesterday. So here you have a situation where an officer is walking up to a car, seeing the broken window. I don't think I'm going to put all that stuff in, but he goes up to the back of the car and he asks the dispatcher, hey, can you run the license plate for me? The license plate to this particular car doesn't even come back to the city the officer is in. This is actually a very common occurrence for a variety of reasons. One, this is a kind of a high crime, high poverty area, low income, high poverty, all of those kind of things. People who live in these areas, sorry, my nose tickles. People who live in these areas tend to rent a place for 1 year, and then when their lease is up, they move to another place. So their license and registration are very rarely tied to their current address. Another thing that we find is that with young people often have their vehicles registered in their parents' names. Either their parents bought them the car, or they're using their parents' car, or young people also will move out of their parents' house. Oops, hitting buttons on my keyboard. They'll move out of their parents' house, but they still leave their permanent address back at their mom and dad's house. For whatever reason, people do that kind of stuff. So when I come up on a car that has either been stolen, broken into, damaged in a crash, any of those types of things, it's actually very rare that the car is parked in front of the house where it belongs, or that the license plate registers to the house where the person belongs. In this case, in order to find the owner of this vehicle, the officers would have had to get on the radio and say, hey, whatever county this car registered to, can you get a hold of Fairfield County and have them send a deputy out to this house, see if they can tell us where the car is supposed to be and how we can contact the owner. So in that case, you'll actually have a deputy maybe going out to someone's house in the middle of the country, driving down a long, narrow driveway. The time on this recording, you guys can't see it, but it's 1:37 in the morning. Imagine you live out in the country. It's 1:37 in the morning. Somebody is banging on your door and you don't know why. It might be the police. It might be a sheriff's deputy saying, hey, there's a car that's registered to you. It's parked in the middle of the city. Do you know why it might be there? These are all things that happen in real life. So he looks around the car, he goes back and he runs the license plate, cannot figure out who it is. So what they start doing next is they start going up and knocking on random doors on the street. They're like, you know what? This car is parked in front of this house. I'm going to go up and knock on the door. This particular officer, he goes up and knocks on one door, and then someone hollers out at him, no, I think they actually live over here. So this is a situation where the officer is going to knock on the door, be told that he's at the wrong house, and just turn and walk away.
Over there?
So then he's going to walk over to the right house, and he's going to walk up on that porch, and he's going to ring their bell. Turn this down. Come back. So here, this person, they have a Ring doorbell, but it's facing out that way. And the officer rings the doorbell and then walks away from it. So he's not on camera. These people, other than the fact that he's knocking on the door and he's going to announce, he's going to shine his flashlight in their house and all that other stuff, they can't prove that it's the police. But they don't exactly come to the door terrified and armed. So he already rang the bell once. I skipped ahead a little bit. Ring it again. Gonna knock. His knock is very similar to the knock that we heard on the New Mexico video. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. Here he is shining lights in the house. These are all things that people said, if you do that in my house, I'm probably gonna come to the door with a gun. So now somebody comes to the door, they open the door, they crack it a little bit, and they're like, hey, can I help you?
Do you know whose car this is right here? It's police.
Yeah, we can move it.
No, I need to. Which one is hers?
That's right
Do you know whose that is?
Mine's the Chevy right there.
Okay.
I don't know. That's the.
So, and it's even better because the person was very confused about what the officer was asking him. He's like, no. I couldn't hear what the guy said, who the resident. I couldn't hear exactly what he said, but it said something like, fine, we can do this. And the guy was like, no, he's like, I'm a police officer. He shines his light on himself, and then the guy's like, no, my car's this one. And he'll go on to tell him, I think that the person who owns that car that got broke into lives on one house over. They have a very pleasant conversation at 1:43 in the morning. These police officers just woke this guy up, beating on his door, shining their lights and stuff in his window. But the reason they were doing it is because they want to find the victim whose car was broken into. So one, they can notify the victim that their property was damaged and that some stuff was stolen. And two, because if they don't find a cooperating victim, they can't charge the person that they caught. That's the other part of it. So they're just out there knocking on random doors in the middle of the night, and miraculously, nobody was shot. And then the third video I have is from another officer who was actually knocking on the right door.
Police!
So he did the very same knock. Knock, 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 knock. It wasn't like a big, loud police lock. He wasn't banging on the door. He wasn't trying to take the house down. Wasn't trying to scare them. Knock, 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 police. Then he hit the ring doorbell, and then he stepped away for a minute. This is the whole point of what I'm trying to explain, is that this is a very common type of occurrence. This happens every night across the country, and it does not lead to police-involved shootings. I had a lot of people saying, what should I do if somebody's knocking on the door saying it's the police, and I'm not sure if it's the police? I was like, well, look out the window. You can look out the door. You can look out your upstairs window, see if there's any police cars around. You can even call 911 and say, hey, look, this is my address. Can you let me know if anybody is knocking on my door right now? They can verify that information very quickly. These are all things that are much smarter ideas than coming to the door with a gun in your hand. And not only do you have it in your hand, but once you see it's the police, you raise that weapon like you're about to start firing. That is what happened in the New Mexico case. That is not what happens commonly in real life. Like I even saw one of the comments, I'm not going to go through them in the video, but one of the comments I saw was saying something like, it appears that we have an epidemic of police officers knocking on the wrong door in the middle of the night. We need to find a solution to this. Take the whole wrong house out of the equation. What if police officers are knocking on the right door completely unexpected? There is also a lot of reasons that police officers might knock on your door completely unexpectedly in the middle of the night. A lot of crime happens in the middle of the night. This case that I'm showing you right here is just one of those. There's countless reasons why a police officer might knock on your door in the middle of the night when you're not expecting the police to come to your door. Even if you stay quiet, you don't mess with anybody, you keep to yourself, you don't have anybody else, no other reason that the police would want to talk to you. Sometimes there is a reason. It could even be something so simple as something happened the day before. Well, generally police don't come to your house for that in the middle of the night, but I don't know, I'm just trying to think of other things. Or they're looking for next of kin notifications if there was a bad car accident in the middle of the night. Or just people give the police the wrong address. There's thousands of reasons why the police might come to your door when you're not expecting them to come to the door. And not only is it exceptionally rare, but it basically doesn't happen. These situations where somebody comes to the door and points a gun at the police, it basically doesn't happen. Does it happen? Sure. When it happens the majority of the time, does it go okay? Yes. I should have brought that one up too. I've got another video on the channel where, you know what? I'll splice it in. I'll find it and I'll splice it in here.
Hello. It's okay. It's just the police. You can put the gun away.
Why are you here?
I'm looking for Justin Higgins.
Why?
He's got a warrant for his
Why
arrest.
are you here?
Hey! Put your gun out! God damn! What are you, nuts?
This was one where there was a drunk old lady who her son had warrants for her arrest, and she came to the door with a gun and basically pointed it at the police officer. I have also had situations kind of like that, where I keep pausing because I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to splice this in. But I've also had situations like that where there was a confused person that came to the door with a firearm, and it was very clear that they were just drunk and confused and they didn't mean us any harm. Still, that's very different than what happened in the New Mexico case. He appeared to come to the door with a deliberate intent. Just the way he opened the door and leveled that firearm at police officers, he wasn't talking or doing anything. I don't know, whatever was in his head at the time is the reason that he got shot. And I think that people are placing too large of a share of the blame on the police officers in that case. And if it goes to trial, or when it goes to a grand jury, or when it goes to the what do you call it? We have like a firearms review board that reviews police involved shootings. When it goes to those things, some of the information that they will consider is stuff just like what we have going on in this video here. Most of those investigations are done by police officers or people with law enforcement experience. So they will take information like this into account when they're determining whether or not those police officers should face discipline or even criminal charges. I think I beat this one to death. Poor choice of words. But thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later.